The Daily Star newspaper, which is, in my opinion, a cracking read, teased the Prime Minister today with their front page saying he's like that cartoon character Wally, who wears a stripy jumper, bobble hat and disappears from view into a big crowd. Here's the headline: forget about where's Wally, where's Rishi, they ask. Well, the lesser spotted Sunak has been spotted, and he may not be a Wally after all. Our Prime Minister, who's been in the post for just a matter of weeks, is a man with a plan. Well, actually, he's got 5. Take a listen.
So, 5 promises. We will halve inflation, grow the economy, reduce debt, cut waiting lists and stop the boats. Those are the people's priorities. They are your government's priorities, and we will either have achieved them or not. No tricks, no ambiguity. We're either delivering for you or we're not.
Casting a critical eye on his speech, you could say that some of those promises are really just creative accounting, the likes of which Gary Barlow or Jimmy Carr would be proud. After all, his promise to chop inflation in half is hardly an impossible task as the global cost of energy comes down and as demand for goods is reduced due to recession, which is always deflationary. Every man and his dog knows inflation is heading south. However, promising to cut it in half is still bold, and if he's able to deliver on that, we'll take it. You might expect NHS waiting lists to also come down by the summer, as they tend to. But in the end, whilst some of those pledges may have happened anyway, there isn't anything outlined that most people won't like. As shopping lists go, it's a belter. Boost the economy, reduce debt, cut inflation, get the NHS serving patients again, and tackle illegal migration. Boom! Of course, there is a risk that Sunak's 5-point plan will have echoes of former Labour leader Ed Miliband's Ed Stone. Do you remember that? With pledges carved into a block of granite. A block of granite, not a bad description for Miliband himself. But this is no gravestone for Sunak. In my view, when people have been asking where's Rishi, well, I think we've got our answer. He's been holed up at number 10, quietly making a plan to fix the country's problems. He knows that his job depends on it. And the beauty of today's speech is that it contains pledges, commitments, promises. Remember them? At last, a politician we can hold to account. Now, in January of last year, exactly 12 months ago, amid COVID tyranny and a number 10 operation in disarray, dogged by self-inflicted scandal after self-inflicted scandal, I went on the national television and radio airwaves and I called for Sunak to become Prime Minister. At the time, I said we needed a grown-up in the room. Well, after a tumultuous year and 2 Prime Ministers later, he's in the hot seat, and it's time for him to deliver. So there it is in black and white. And what I liked about the speech is that he set the bar high, not just for himself, but for all of us, urging a change in the mentality of this country. Sunak is thinking big, not just for himself, but for Britain. Education, for example, must be the focus of government policy. It's the ultimate investment. He's right. And nothing boosts social mobility more than giving people the best possible start in life, giving youngsters the tools with which to make something of their God-given talents. And he's right to point out the scandal of a quarter, that's right, a quarter of work-age adults being economically inactive. 25% of the population who can work but don't. That is not sustainable. Now, the highly talented and charismatic Boris Johnson, who, to his vast credit, got Brexit done and kept Jeremy Corbyn out of number 10, was the self-confessed chairman of the country when he was PM. That's right, he was the chairman of Britain. Well, what we have in Sunak is a CEO, someone who can look at every department of state, crack the whip and make it better in a way that I hope will have echoes of his historic predecessor from the 1980s, Margaret Thatcher. And as we said on last night's show, facing down the unions with their irresponsible and inflationary wage demands could be Sunak's Falklands moment. In my view, there are two key questions to answer about Rishi Sunak. The first is whether he has the political judgment to succeed. Well, by zeroing in on the 5 key issues that matter most to the British people, I believe that today he has passed that with flying colours. But the other question is one to which we do not yet have an answer. Has he got the character, the backbone? Has this Prime Minister got a pair of balls? Because seeing through this 5-point plan, including tackling illegal immigration, will, I believe, see him comfortably reverse Labour's lead. But it will take political courage. There will be ups and there will be downs, including further economic and infrastructural strife in his game of chicken with Mick Lynch and the other union barons. So, frankly, things could get worse before they get better. Has Sunak got the determination, the vision, the conviction, the guts to see this through? Ultimately, whatever your political colour, we all need Sunak to succeed. But in purely political terms, if he delivers on those pledges, the Fab Five, the Rishi list, then he's booked himself another 5 years of accommodation in that famous Edwardian house in central London. So Sunak has laid out his roadmap, but there's no point having a map if you don't stick to the route. Talk is cheap. There's a lot of work to be done. So, Dishy Rishi, let's get busy. People have talked about how awkward he is around real people, including this recent excruciating encounter with a homeless man at a food shelter. It was awkward, to say the least. OK, so he hasn't got the common touch. I couldn't care less. Rishi Sunak shouldn't pretend to be something he's not. We don't need him to be man of the people, salt of the earth, someone that you'd like to go to the pub with. Rishi Sunak doesn't have to be a great person. He has to be a great Prime Minister. And today we saw the makings of just that.